heard many what to do sermons about health. This is coming from a different angle. This is going to be a how to do sermon, to give you some practical suggestions. There won't be a lot of Spirit of Prophecy, won't be a lot of Bible. There'll be a lot of practical suggestions of things that you can do. And the title of our message is 17 Ways for You to Improve Your Health. You know, in the church, there are 3 types of church members who are not following the health message. Category 1 is a church member that says this. What does it say there? I don't know what to do. Don't know what to do. I'm going to try to have something for that person so that by the end of this talk, they cannot say, I don't know what to do. But then there's category 2 for on the right over there, and that person says, I know what to do, I tried, but currently, I'm not doing it right now. That person, they need a new mindset, they need a new system, they need a new plan. They need to shake themselves, dust themselves off, get up, and try some new ideas. They need some encouragement. They need an accountability partner to pray with them. And I have something for them this morning by God's grace. And then there's category 3 who says, I know what to do, but I ain't doing it. I got a lot on my plate. I work 40 hours, I have kids, I have a little side hustle I got to do. If I need to increase my time, something else is not going to be walking, it's going to be trying to get another job, or it's going to be, I need to be praying and studying my Bible more than going out for a walk. And that person, I have something for them too by God's grace. The first person, their problem is that they're uneducated. Category 2 Christian that's not keeping the health message is discouraged. But category 3, what is their problem? Their problem is rebellion. And what they need most is prayer. And we'll pray at the end. We're going to have some scripture today, but we're going to try to focus on how to apply the principles of the scripture to practical things in our life today. In almost every sermon I preach, I use this quote. It says in 8 Testimonies, Volume 8, 3:15, it says, what does it say in pink? A what? A storm is coming. It's not going to let up after it comes. Relentless in its spirit. The big question is, are you prepared to meet it? It's the life of Job that outlines the details of the storm that is coming in the last days. And if you read Job chapters 1 and 2, Satan attacked him. What did he lose? In Job chapter 1. He lost all his material wealth. In Job chapter 1, he lost his children. What else did the devil attack in Job chapters 1 and 2? Come on, you Bible students. He lost his wife. When he first married her, she wasn't talking that way. But somewhere along the way, she lost her faith and turned against him. Lost his wealth, lost his children, lost his wife. And then Satan brought the other aspect of the attack in the storm that we're going to face, is that in the storm that's coming against us, we're going to lose the things that we think are the most valuable, things that have a lot of great value. And today the storm is already going on. We're just not aware. We're just not reading the papers close enough to see it. But we have to have the scales removed from our eyes. Just in this week, I couldn't find the graphic to put on the screen, but in August of this year, this is for July of this year, they're testing the wastewaters in all of the big cities across America, and they're finding that COVID is not only surging in the winter, it has a summer surge. And this summer, the surge is greater than it's ever been in any previous summer. That bright red is high levels of COVID, and the dark red is very high levels of COVID. And now the August 2024 calendar, which I couldn't find, shows all of these states are very high. Don't comfort yourself, oh, well, Indiana's in just the moderate. It's very high here in Indiana. Another part of the storm that's going to hit us very shortly is Mpox. There's an outbreak currently that says, what day did it say came out?
14.
August 14, 2024. There's a big outbreak of mpox in Central Africa. It's very interesting. It says it resembles the early days of HIV. That's significant because anything that's exchanged through romantic involvement is going to spread. You can't keep it shut down. And the reason that HIV spreads so rapidly is because early on when you have HIV, you're symptomless. You can't see it. And it's the same with mpox. Here it is. There's two classes of it. Right now, this is where it first started. That's clade 1. That's the first strain of it. That's in Democratic Republic of Congo. That's in Cameroon. Has both strains of it, but it's in West Africa, and now it's spread to South Africa. And you get it by touching, what does it say there? Contaminated people, or what? Contaminated surfaces. So, I know what you're thinking. You're thinking, well, I'm not getting close to contaminated people. It's in Central and Southern Africa. I should be pretty safe from it. But actually, that's just 2024 statistics. From 2020 to 2022, there was a huge wave of mpox in America. Tens of thousands of cases. And it's right now, currently, in 116 countries. It's coming to Indianapolis. It's already here. And for those of you that are in category 3, where you're just like, I'm just not feeling the health message right now, I'm here to tell you that this is something you don't want to get. You really don't want to have a distant relative to the smallpox. And it comes with symptoms where it just looks like it's the flu. You don't get the lesions until later on. And it's a horrible thing to have. You really don't want to have that. You really need to get your immune system in its optimal functioning level. But the storm that's coming is not just coming through infectious disease. It's not just coming from germs that invade the body. It's coming primarily through chronic degenerative disease. Infectious disease is when a germ or a virus or a parasite gets into your body and starts multiplying, and your body doesn't have the ability to kill it all. But a chronic degenerative disease is your body just breaking down because of the transgression of the laws of health. Your body is just wearing down. Your immune system, your cardiovascular system, your lungs, your kidney function are all depreciating. And as they break down, disease sets up in your body. And this is the biggest threat that we have to face, is chronic degenerative disease. This is what's killing people. This is what's killing us. Heart disease, cancer, diabetes, hypertension, kidney disease, and arthritis. And if you start to look at the statistics of what are the leading causes of death in America, you'll see what's the number one killer in America?
Heart disease.
About 500,000 people every year. Way over north of 400,000. Heart disease, that's the plaque that builds up in your arteries. The next biggest killer is cancer. Those are chronic degenerative diseases. And then you see COVID way down here, and then you have stroke, that's from chronic degenerative. Chronic respiratory disease, Alzheimer's, diabetes, kidney, all the rest of them. Over 1 million people a year being killed because their bodies are just breaking down and can no longer do the functions that they did when they were little. This book came out in the 1970s. It's called Live Longer Now. And in this book, I just wanted to put one graphic on the screen for you. It just shows here that in 1920, the most deaths that took place in America was from from acute infective disease. And chronic degenerative diseases were killing half the number of people. But as they've gotten the hospitals cleaned up and new medicines, the infectious diseases, the rate of death just plummeted. So right about 1935, the number of people dying from infectious disease was less than the people dying from chronic degenerative disease. where the body breaks down. And that level has stayed the same since the 1920s till today. Now, infectious disease is starting to come up with COVID, with Mpox, with all these other things. But the big killer that we're having to face is your body just wearing out and not being able to fight off these degenerative diseases. People said COVID was a big problem, that it killed a lot of people. Do you know how many people died from COVID in 4 years? Do you have any idea? It was 7 million people. 775 million had tested positive for it. That's almost 1 billion people, and it killed 7 million people in 4 years. That's a lot of people that should be alive today. There are people in this church that died from COVID. Very sad, very shocking. But hypertension, that's high blood pressure, kills how many people annually? 9 million. So in 4 years, it's killed how many people since 2020? It's killed 30-something million people, many more times. And hypertension is actually, it can be treated successfully, very easily, with diet and exercise. There's a small percentage that is stubborn, but the vast majority of cases can be treated with diet and exercise. Why does high blood pressure kill so many people? It's because hypertension has accomplices. It's not doing all the killing by itself. It's the foundation for heart attacks and strokes and renal disease. And that is why the numbers of people that are killed by hypertension is so high. I was just in the Philippines just in May and June, and 25% of the nation has hypertension. 1 in 4. And I talked to the medical missionaries there, and I said, you don't have to worry about going door to door to try to treat cancer people. Just start treating hypertension. You'll be busy the rest of your life. There's 13 million people in Manila, and millions of them have hypertension. And it's easy to treat if you can get people to pray and get grace to change their diet and their exercise. Our scripture that was read for us this morning tells us that when we are obeying what God has asked us to do, He promises to make us resistant to disease. There's another Bible text that says that if we have disease and we keep His laws, He'll take away that disease. And that is both the infectious diseases and the chronic degenerative diseases. And the first thing it says is that we need to do what? What does it say there in capital letters in yellow? It didn't say keep the commandments. The first thing it said was, you've got to listen to the voice. When the Spirit says, you're so upset, you really shouldn't eat today, skip this meal, you've got to listen to that voice and just say, well, I'm hungry, I'm going to eat anyway. When the Spirit says, you really need to start drinking a little bit more water, your urine is really dark, you have to listen, you have to hearken to that voice. And then it goes on to say we need to do what is right, give ear to His commandments, keep all His statutes, and then the promise is that He'll put none of those diseases upon us. So I'm just going to touch on some practical suggestions. I'm going to make 17 suggestions of things that you can do if you're in category 1 and say, I don't know what I should be doing. So you can write these things down if you like, or just write down the ones that you're not doing that you want to pray about, adding them to your list. And we'll talk about hygiene, diet, exercise, sleep, water, and how you stand and sit. Let's talk a little bit about God's plan for infectious disease. In 2 Corinthians 6:17, read that for me. It says, wherefore, come out from among them and be separate, saith the Lord, and
touch
not the unclean thing. That's a very simple principle. It's actually in the Old Testament also. And God's plan for infectious disease, from the infection of sin, is not to be hanging around with sinful people and not doing the practices that they do. But it's the same principle when it comes to people that are physically infectious. So here's your first suggestion. When you go into Walmart and you see an aisle like that, go to the aisle like this and say, I'm going to go to the aisle where the bananas are, and don't walk down that aisle where there's 25, 30 people crowded on that aisle coughing and talking and blowing their breath out, don't walk down that aisle. I've done it many times. I've been to Walmart, about to go get my cereal. I'm like, oh, put it in reverse, preach, and go back the other way. Because there's too many people down that aisle. If you see people coughing, don't walk up on them. That could be monkeypox, mpox that's just coming out, that just got to your store, so stay back away from them. In England, they actually had some young people that were going through stores coughing on food and people intentionally, as it was a joke. And the police tried to arrest him. This is his brother here coughing. You see how this brother reacted? That's not good enough. He should have hit the gas and then got off that aisle. Even if they're just playing, you don't know why they're coughing. So the number one suggestion is when you see a lot of people, don't go in a crowd where there's a lot of breath. Don't go where there's a lot of talking and a lot of noise. Number two, if you want to avoid infectious disease, there's two things you should never touch. And that's an uncleaned off shopping cart handle. You just go and Google that shopping cart handle and it will tell you that they're not cleaned often and that they found fecal matter, they found mucus, they found all types of things on this handle. So when you get to Myers or to Target, you make sure that you get that sanitary disinfectant, wipe that handle off, or you grab the basket from the side and pull the basket from the side, or you use a paper towel or something else. I've seen people who are very dedicated that put on gloves when they go into the grocery store. That is not an effective means of prevention because you're picking up things off the shelf with that glove and putting them in your basket, and things on the shelf are picked up by people and put back, and so your gloves eventually end up being contaminated, and you with a contaminated glove is touching everything that you're putting in your basket that you put in your home. So wipe down your shopping cart handle. Suggestion number 3. What does it say?
Wash your hands.
Wash hands often after touching anyone's hand or anything dirty, and you can also use hand sanitizer. When people come to shake my hand, what's going on, brother? Get up, say, what's going on? What's going on? I don't have to grab his hand. If I do grab his hand, ding, 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 I'm working my way to the men's room at Westside so that I can get back there and wash my hands. My wife carries a disinfectant that we use that is in our cars and all of our vehicles. When we go to Walmart, we wash our hands by the time we get home, but we also use a hand sanitizer also. So those 3 things that you can do. If you did those 3 things, don't touch the shopping cart handle, don't touch the handle for pumping gas, and by just using a paper towel and using hand sanitizer and wash your hands, you can greatly reduce your exposure to contaminated surfaces. A gas station, a gasoline handle, hundreds and hundreds, perhaps even thousands of people grab that same handle. And we don't think anything about just grabbing it and putting our gas in our car with it. And that's how it's going to spread. And then you end up doing this, and you've wiped your face and you've transferred those germs to your face. So people say, well, I don't know what I can do. Well, this is something that you can do every day, a practical suggestion, so that you can reduce the amount of exposure to disease germs. The other big thing that you can do as we move on to chronic degenerative disease is change your diet and your exercise level. We need to eat more. What are the next 2 words there? Whole food, plant-based diet. Genesis 1:29 says that we should be eating fruits, nuts, and grains. Genesis 3:18 and 19 says that vegetables were added after sin. That's because vegetables are high in mineral content, much higher than fruits and vegetables, and you need the magnesium, the calcium, the iron to make your body stronger, for you to have more strength. The Bible says in Romans 14:2, one believeth that he may eat all things, another who is What does it say?
We.
Eateth what?
Herbs.
Eateth herbs. And that strength is needed for you to be able to have a clear mind to make right decisions at all times. Suggestion number 6. Eat a, what is the next word there?
Deluxe.
Deluxe salad. How often?
4 to 5 days.
4 to 5 days a week. I had a friend, I have a friend, and he challenged me to eat a salad 5 days a week. And I said, okay, let's do that. And if you just have nothing but lettuce and carrots in your salad, that'll be hard to sustain. So you need to add some other things to your salad. And I had green onions with jalapeno peppers in it and garlic cloves in it. I have beets, I have seaweed, I have my green pickle, I have my sesame sticks, I have other kinds of olives, I have avocado. That's before I put the cucumber dressing on there. And I add other things. I add sunflower seeds and nuts. You know what Jesus told Adam and Eve in the garden? He said, of every tree in the garden thou mayest freely eat. I don't know if you caught what he said. He said, don't just eat from the apple tree. That's what he was saying. Yeah. He said from what? How many? Every tree. And so when you're making your salads, you want to add a lot of different things to your salads, and you have to keep that going. This is where the medicine is, brothers and sisters. This is where the resources, the minerals, the vitamins, the enzymes that give your body the ability to fight heart disease and cancer are found. One of the most powerful of all vegetables that you should eat on a regular basis is, what does it say there?
Sweet potato.
They've done studies in 3 different civilizations that found that in Papua New Guinea and in Japan, and I can't remember where the third country was, that the people that ate sweet potatoes every day did not have high hypertension at all. That there's something in sweet potatoes that actually just dilates the blood vessels and makes them resistant to developing hypertension. And sweet potatoes, if you have a little bit of little yard space, they're easy to grow. They're easy to grow. They'll just take off. And my wife has grown sweet potatoes as big as a football. We have sweet potatoes from last year that we still haven't eaten, and they've kept for a whole year. So we gotta have sweet potato chips, put them in the air fryer, and cook them up all kinds of different ways to make our bodies resistant to disease. Let's move on to exercise. By the way, 95% of all chronic degenerative disease is traced to diet and exercise. 95%. Diabetes, hypertension, cancer, heart disease, arthritis, gout, traced directly to diet and exercise. And so we just have to just say, I don't really like salads, but I'm going to try to train my taste. I'm going to try to add some things to it. I put roasted tofu in my salad. I saw my friend who was my accountability partner. He had his on a bed of Fritos corn chips. I'm like, okay. He's making it work. He's getting it down. He probably shouldn't have everything on there, but all I said was go forward, brother. And so we have to just start to be creative and saying, Lord, I just want to do what you asked me to do, and I need to get those things that you told me to eat. In terms of plant-based food, it should try to be unprocessed. I mean, just as it grows in the ground. Council of Diet and Foods on page 380 says, again and again I've been shown that God is trying to lead us back to his original design that man should subsist upon the natural products of the earth. What does that mean? The way it grows out of the ground. When I went to the Philippines, I ate almost no processed food. I was craving something with some flour in it. No. They said, tonight we're going to have burritos. When they brought the burrito out, it was made out of sweet potato and greens. I'm just like, where are the beans? Where is the flour tortilla? We're going to have pizza tonight. The pizza was made out of sweet potatoes and rice. It just was shaped like pizza. It wasn't pizza. I felt cheated. And after week, I was like, man, I gotta get back to Chipotle. I gotta get back to America. But when I got back to America, I had lost 10 pounds in 30 days.
Wow.
Eating whole food, plant-based. I wasn't hungry a single day. But my taste buds were going through withdrawals because I wasn't used to eating. They eat almost 100% whole food, plant-based. And that's what we have to get to. But Council Diet and Foods 380 says step by step. What were those 3 words?
Step by step.
Not overnight. People say, you need to eat that sugarless, saltless, oilless cake. No, that's too many steps. It's step by step. Just institute one thing. Let's go on and talk about exercise real briefly for the next 10 minutes. My life today, 136. What's the first 2 words?
Morning exercise.
Morning exercise. In walking in the free and invigorating air of heaven, cultivating flowers, small fruits, vegetables, is necessary to a healthful circulation of the blood. It is the, what's the next words in white? Read that for me.
Sure safeguard.
Against what?
Colds,
Cough, congestion. What's the last thing say? And
100 others.
100 other diseases. It says 2 things. It says morning exercise and it says walking. Morning. It means when you first wake up in the morning, when you first wake up, within the first 60 minutes of you being awake, you should find yourself outdoor. You need to drink your water. You need to pray and have your devotional time. Sometime early in the morning, I break it down into 2 sections. You should at least get, how many minutes does it say on the screen there?
5 minutes.
It says get 5 minutes about the, now what in the world would I say there? Why would 5 minutes be important? Why is 5 minutes of cardio important first thing in the morning? Does anybody have any idea? What have you been doing all night? You've been all swaddled up in those blankets, all comfortable, and all of your blood is pooling in your vital organs right from here to here. And you need to get that blood out of those organs into your legs and into your arms. Because whenever blood pools, when there's more blood here than it's in the legs and arms, that's what causes this. It causes congestions. It causes coughs. It causes inflammation of the internal organs. And so that in the morning, if you get up and you go out and you get on your mini trampoline and you just run on that mini trampoline just for 5 minutes and your heart rate gets up, it pushes all of that congestion out. And that is a safeguard against 1,000 diseases. So say you're not going to walk for a half an hour. Just get up in the morning when you get out. If you don't have a mini trampoline, just go outside and just deep breathe and just do 15 jumping jacks and breathe deeply just for a few minutes, 2 or 3 minutes. That alone, your body will all wake up. Your brain will wake up. Your heart rate goes up. There's more blood that goes to the brain. And that will be an insurance against a lot of problems. You'll warm up your joints. Now, mini trampolining is very, very good for many reasons. Some of us have a few extra pounds that we've put on. Some of us have joint problems with knees or backs. In a mini trampoline, there's no impact. You decelerate to your stop, then you come up. There's no pounding on the body. You can have a bad back, you can have bad knees, you can be overweight, and you can still walk on a mini trampoline. And there's another benefit. Bouncing exercises circulates the lymph system. You have blood circulation in your capillaries that carry oxygen to the cells and carries the carbon dioxide away and carries sugar and nutrients to the cells. But not every cell has a capillary next to it. It's bathed in lymph fluid. So those cells have to get their nutrition and oxygen and carbon dioxide removal through lymph fluid. But there's no heart to pump lymph fluid. It's only moved by movement. Lymph fluid is moved by what? Movement. Do you know that over 70% of your body weight is muscles, bones, tendons, and ligaments? Why did God make you 70% muscles, bones, tendons, and ligaments? He intended that you move. And bouncing children know, even before they're a year old, that it's doing something good for you. A child that's agitated, a mother can just hold that child and bounce that child, and that child will quiet down. They're getting lymphosized. Their lymph fluid is being circulated. They're like, oh man, mama is cleaning out my lymphs. I'm feeling good. Keep doing it, mom. Children at an early age will bounce on the bed, and the parents will say, don't jump up and down on the bed. This would take when I was down in Honduras. It's a good thing for a child to be bouncing up and down on the bed. Of course, within reason. Tearing up the bed. But that bouncing action actually cleanses their system. If you were to search it out in science and also in history, you'd find that there was a time in our history where we were taught that bouncing was exercise. This is called a trap, T-R-A-P. It's just a horse-drawn conveyance. And Son of the Lord wrote this on Sunday morning. Brother Lawrence took us in a trap, and we drove over a good share of the school ground. In some places, the roads were what?
Very rough.
But I kept thinking, let the cart joke. It is a what?
Change of exercise.
It will do what?
Meat good.
She says they were roughed up nearly all day. She calls it a form of exercise to be in a horse-drawn buggy and doing this. And that's because bouncing actually cleanses the lymph system. And we try to get the cars that have the best suspension and have the least bouncing and try not to do any bouncing at all. And it's actually something that we really should be coveting. There's all kinds of science to support that bouncing on a trampoline doesn't cost you much money. You can get one on Amazon. Bouncing on it does a lot of things. One of the things that they've shown is that if your blood pressure is low, it'll bring it up. If your blood pressure is high, it will bring it down. It actually fights chronic degenerative disease. The second suggestion for exercise is the basic volume cardio walk. And we recommend that you try to work up to, what does it say here? 30 to 60 minutes of walking 5 days a week. And you can do it in intervals of 15 minutes or 10 minutes, or you can just do it in one straight shot. Counsels on Health, page 200, it says, walking in all cases where it is possible is the best remedy for diseased bodies. Walking reverses many different problems, and also slow running. That's actually a category where you're running very, very slow. We would call it a slow jog. And it builds your max VO2. And they, Navy SEALs, they do a long, slow run. And they start them at 3 miles and they end up running 18 and 20 miles, long, slow run. And that builds up their maximum oxygen capacity so that when they have to exert themselves, they have the capacity to put out on a high level. In the book Live Longer Now by Nathan Pritikin, he brings out these numbers. Read those numbers for me. They are 3.5. What's the other number?
7.
What are those numbers? It's the amount of hours per week that you should spend doing aerobic exercise. In order to have normal bodily functions, you need 2 hours per week. That's 20 minutes a day. What's 3.5? 3.5 is the minimum numbers of hours per week in order to arrest and reverse hypertension, diabetes, cancer, arthritis, gout, chronic degenerative diseases, heart disease. And what is 7? 7 is the minimum hours per week for rapid reversal of chronic degenerative diseases. So 3.5 hours a week is 30 minutes a day. And 7 hours a week is how many hours per day? An hour a day. That's what we should be working for. Many of us, we need to work up to an hour a day. I used to live in Wisconsin, and there was a gentleman that was in his 70s. I was in my 30s. And I used to see him walking on the street, and he was walking like this. Just really slow. He had a stick. And I lived in an area that was all white, and he was a black man. I finally stopped to talk to him, and I learned that he was from Venezuela, and that he walked 5 miles a day, very slowly. And we became friends. His name was Teofilo. And after he walked 5-6 days a week for years and years and years, and after a while I didn't see him. And I went to his house and I I said, hey, I haven't seen you walk. He said, I'm not walking anymore because someone might hit me by a car. Hit you by a car? That can't be, because whenever a car would come by on these rural country roads, he would step off of the road 10 feet and let the car go by. I said, no one's going to hit you way up in the field, in the cornfield. And he got into his mind that someone was going to hit him. But he used to tutor math at the high school. I said, when you go to the high school 5 days a week, walk the track. There's no cars on the track. But he stopped walking. Within a year, he lost his voice. And a year later, he was dead. Just walking at this casual pace for 5 miles. Probably took him 2 hours to get 5 miles, 40 minutes a mile. But that was making him strong. And as soon as he stopped walking, he went down and he died. So I encourage people, get your 20 minutes a day, get your 30 minutes a day. Pick that pace up. Don't just walk slowly. It's going to do wonders for your health. By the way, if you are getting less than 20 minutes a day of cardio, you are not normal. There's a name for you scientifically, and that name is sedentary. A sedentary person, their heart function, their liver function, their kidney function is substandard. It's not normal. And most of us are sedentary. We've got to get up to getting winded 20 minutes a day, 2 hours a week, in order to have normal kidney, lung, heart function. And most of us have degenerative disease already started. The statistics show that in the Korean War, way back in the I think it was the 1940s, I'm not certain. In the Korean War, they did autopsies on 322-year-olds and found that they had substantial plaque buildup. In the 1940s, what will young people's plaque level look like today? In 2024, with the type of food people are eating today, they're sedentary and they're going to have a lot of problems. If you're already walking, my suggestion to you is to walk, run. Just walk for a while, then run for a little while, then walk a little bit, then run a little bit. That's called roving. And roving is probably the ultimate. You get the benefits of both, because running is a completely different exercise to walking, and you get extra benefits from that. One of the biggest benefits for aerobic exercise is what it does for your brain, and it does wonderful things for your brain. This is showing the temperature of the surface of the brain after sitting quietly, and this is after a 20-minute walk. That's an entirely different organ, the way that this brain is functioning, because of all of the blood flow that goes to the brain. You can make sharper, clearer, and more accurate and more godly decisions when your brain is oxygenated. We're almost to the end here. We need to drink how much? Our 10th suggestion is to do what?
Drink water.
Drink full quota.
Drink the full quota of your water daily. And
How much
until,
is that?
we'll come to that on a slide. You know, when the children of Israel came out of Egypt, they were used to drinking all kinds of wonderful things in Egypt that God took away from them. They were used to eating things in Egypt that God took away from them. He made them to walk. Do you know how far they walked in 40 years? At 3 miles a day. It's between 40 and 50,000 miles if they walked 6 days a week, 3 miles a day for 40 years. God knew what he was doing. He said, I need you to drink water. I need you to eat plant-based with a little bit of manna thrown in. And I need you to walk. I need you to sleep outdoors where there's fresh air, not under ceilings and windows. And that was for their good, to clear their minds for their mission, their spiritual mission, to be a light through all of the Gentile nations. Today we drink just things that we shouldn't be drinking. You should drink anything that comes out of an aluminum can. And aluminum is a toxic metal, and your drink, although they say the can is lined with plastic, I don't trust that much. And not only is the aluminum can a problem, but what they put in the can is a problem. People say, oh, but I drink diet drinks, it's low in sugar. Actually, the diet drink is worse than drinking. You'd be better off getting sugar. Whenever they substitute something, they say, oh, you shouldn't have butter, you should have margarine. Margarine is worse than butter. Oh, you shouldn't have sugar, you should have saccharin. Saccharin is worse than sugar. And they've shown that people that drink these diet sodas have many more strokes and heart attacks. 61% higher risk of vascular event if you're drinking those things. So we need to be drinking water. And how much water should we drink? Well, we're losing water continually. We lose water, over 2 liters of water a day, the average person. And a lot of it is lost through sweating that you don't feel like you're sweating. You're sitting down right now and you're losing liquid through your skin. You're sweating sitting in your seat. That's called insensible perspiration. You can wear your clothes all day and try to wear them several days in a row. They will be stinking because you've been, even though you're not doing any physical work, you're sweating into your clothes. And so water loss is continual. So that means that water intake should be continual. You should be continually sipping water throughout your day. By the way, this is a very interesting book. It says almost all pain is a registration of a local thirst. All pain. So if you start to feel any pain in your body, the first thing you should think is, I'm dehydrated. Don't think I'm stressed. Don't think my shoes are too tight. Don't think that I didn't eat the right thing. The first thing you should think is that it's the localized dehydration. And where do we have those pains for dehydration? It's head pain, chest pain, stomach pain, back pain, and pain in the legs. Whenever you feel any of those pains, the first thing you should think is, I need to push back a couple of glasses of water. And usually that will be enough to stop that pain. Water loss is continual. We just talked about that. So water intake should be what? The only way you can do that is to carry a water bottle. You have to carry a water bottle. You should carry a water bottle every place except into church. Okay? I've seen people take water bottles into church, but actually, if you look in the New Testament, the Bible says, Jesus said he wouldn't suffer them to bring a vessel into the temple. And the reason is because it's a distraction to be tilting up a big water bottle in church, and then it turns from water to lemonade to a power drink. So we want to we won't want to be distracted by that. There's suggestion number 11. It says, how much of your water? 1/3 should be drink warm in the morning, because we haven't taken any water for 1/3 of our 24-hour period. And the other 2/3 of our water should be, what did it say? Sip continually, so you have to carry a water bottle to do that. By the way, all bottles are not the same. You should try to avoid drinking water out of plastic as much as you can. You should try to drink water out of, what does it say here? Or stainless steel. Silicone is better than plastic. Plastic, even the BPA-free plastic, isn't the best. BPA is bisphenol A, and it actually is a poison. This is my countertop, my wife and I's countertop. We have a countertop distiller. That's stainless steel. It comes out, it goes right into glass. And then when we pour it into our own separate containers, we drink out of glass canning jars. So it's stainless steel or glass. There's no plastic ever touching that water. Plastic is a big problem. They discovered last year that the average person is eating a credit card size amount of plastic every week. And they don't know how to detox plastic out of the brain and the tissues yet. They don't know how to get it out. It's a lot of chemicals. You can buy a lot of stainless steel bottles in Walmart, and we encourage you, if you don't want to carry glass, because glass can break, but you can buy stainless steel, but try to get the one with the what?
Larger.
That's easier to clean it, and also a double-walled insulation is nice. If you don't drink enough water, you become dehydrated, and that causes insufficient blood flow. So what your body does automatically, it's like, I've got to make a little bit of blood go further, so it starts constricting the blood vessels. So dehydration is a fundamental cause of high blood pressure. You can just treat it by drinking water. How much water should you drink? Depends on 4 big factors. The most important factor is how big you are. The bigger you are as a person, the more water you should drink. But it's also affected by how active you are, lot of walking? Are you sweating? What the temperature and humidity level is, and how much you talk. People that talk a lot, they use a lot of water coming out of their mouth. You ever held a mirror up to your face? You'll see condensation on that mirror. If you have a job where you're on the phone all day, you should be drinking more water than the person that doesn't have that job. But the biggest factor is size. If this man weighs 256 pounds, he should be drinking half of his body weight in ounces. That's 128 ounces of water. That's 1 gallon a day. If she weighs 128 pounds, she's half his body weight. She needs to drink a minimum of 2 quarts a day. I weigh 180 pounds. I need to drink half of that. So that's 90 fluid ounces. That's about 3 quarts. I need to drink 3 quarts a day minimum if I'm not working outside, if I'm not talking a whole lot. How do I know if I'm dehydrated? I'll know by the color of my urine. If you pee into a bottle and your urine is this color here, or even this color here, you're drinking insufficient water. If you pee into a bottle and your urine is not light yellow, it actually can be lighter than this. And I know what you're saying. Say, oh, when I urinate in the toilet, it does look like that. No, that's your urine mixed with a gallon of water. It looks like that. But if you were to pee into a bottle, just your urine in a bottle, you would find that many of us, our urine is apple juice colored. It's that dark. And that's because we're not drinking enough. You would have to drink up 2 or 3 gallons to get your urine that light. That's too much water. But we need to try to get our level of urine, our color of urine to be lighter. One of the things you can do to get more water in, 2 suggestions, is get a big glass bottle. I wouldn't use plastic, and you can write on it times. And so by that certain time of the day, you should have drank down to that amount. That way, as you look at it, you can see, oh, I'm behind. It's 3 in the afternoon. I only drank 1 quart. I need to be down to 2 quarts already. And so you can see. Another way that I do it is I just, every morning, this is suggestion number 12, I pour out the 3 quarts that I'm supposed to drink. I pour it out every day, and it's right on my counter. So that when I get up, and every time I walk past, I'm like, whoa, those bottles are full. I gotta get some of that down. It gives me a visual cue to stay on my water drinking, to get 3 or 4 quarts down a day. John Harvey Kellogg had a powerful quote. He said that, I believe he said once a week. There it is. He said once a week we should take a what? Eternal bath. And how do you do that? You drink a glass of water how often? Each hour. So if you were up 16 hours, you'd be drinking 16 glasses. He calls that taking an internal bath once a week. That alone tamps down inflammation in the system. A lot of us have inflammation, and if we went to drinking a glass every hour on the hour, it would flush out a lot of the toxins that cause inflammation. Let's talk about our last 2 areas. We're looking at practical suggestions, 17 different things you can do that you can say, you know what, I'm not doing that, let me add that to the list. Here's one. Get to bed at a decent hour. How often? Every night. We shouldn't be going to sleep after 10. Amen? I knew I wasn't going to get a weak amen on that. We should be trying to get to bed by 9:30. Very difficult for the average person to do. But we should try to go to bed at the same time every night. Why is that important? Because the way that your body gets rapid eye movement sleep, it comes in pieces. And if you go to bed late, you'll miss out on the healing aspect of sleeping. And rapid eye movement sleep is when your memories are put into files in your brain for you to recall things. It takes place during the deep stages of sleep. And your brain is functioning differently during rapid eye movement sleep. The brain is lit up because it's almost as if you're awake. The brain activity is the same as if you're awake at that time. And that's because the brain is filing things away during that rapid eye movement sleep. And I want you to see something here. This is very interesting. When you first get into bed, it takes a while for you to go to sleep, and you start dropping into deeper stages of sleep. And then you start waking up. And then when you get into your deepest stage, it's called rapid eye movement. And I want you to see something. You only stay in it for a short time, then you march down. Then you come up, you have it again, it's a little longer, you march down, not as far, you come up, it's a little longer. You go down again, and then it's the longest period. Here's a better picture of it. This is out of the book Power Sleep by James Mays. He shows that your rapid eye movement sleep, you get it a little bit, you go to bed at 10 o'clock, you get some at around 11:30, and then about at 2:30 in the morning, then at about 4:30. But the longest section of it is just before you wake up. That's between 6:30 and 7:30 in the morning. And there's more rapid eye movement sleep here than all the other sections combined. But if you went to bed late, if you went to bed at midnight, you start here at midnight or 1 in the morning, you get up to go to work here, and you don't get that big section of rapid eye movement sleep. Whenever you go to bed really, really late and get up with just 5-6 hours of sleep, your brain can't heal, it can't file things away, it can't do all the things that it wants to do, that God intends for it to do. That big long period that could be 40 to 60 minutes of rapid eye movement sleep, you've missed that because you're going to bed late. If you go to bed late every week, tap your foot right now. That some days you just can't get into bed. That's a problem. We need to address that. We need to turn that around. We need to be consistent. I have a friend, she goes to bed at 8 o'clock every day and is up at 4 every day. She's always alert, always chipper, always sharp. Man, go to bed at 8? She's planning her day, and she's busy. She's a physician's assistant and has a high-powered, stressful job. But she's consistent with her diet, consistent with her exercise. She's walking 5 miles a day, consistent going to bed on time. That's why her mind is so sharp. Suggestion 14, sleeping or what?
Well,
how many of you sleep with your windows open year round? Try to do it, even when it's cold. Crack it a little bit. Sleeping with a window right next to your bed is just a marvelous way to oxygenate your system. Your brain is active. Suggestion 15, sleep in a what?
dark room.
In a dark room, and avoid what?
Using your phone.
Don't use that phone. Oh man, I'm not going to ask you to raise your hand because we all do it. Got that phone up. Don't do it just before you go to bed. And if you had to do it, turn it on the red light, not the blue. That blue hue, it wakes up the mind. There's lots of studies to show it causes all types of problems. Adam and Eve went to bed when it got dark, and their sleep was much better. Your eyelids are the thinnest skin in your whole body. When there's a light on in the room, your eyes pick up that light, and it prevents the production of melatonin. Many of us don't have this luxury, but if you get really run down, you should try to take a nap in the middle of the day. Be sure to turn your phone off, because it will certainly ring. Somebody will definitely call you. I can testify to that. It has happened to me dozens of times. And when it happens, I'm not happy. And my wife says, you're to blame for it. Turn your phone off if you're going to take a nap, because that's what's going to cause a problem. You shouldn't nap more than 60 minutes because it'll mess up your sleep at night, but you can actually recover some of the sleep that you lost. The last one I want to talk to is about improved posture. Suggestion number 16. Make a commitment to do what?
Stand
And sit properly. Assign a accountability partner or use a mirror to check to make sure you're doing it. Because I've worked on computers making slides for over 30 years, I have a head forward position. I need to get my head back, my chest up, my anterior pelvic tilt corrected, because my spine is off from sitting for so many years in front of a computer. Education page 198 says, the one who sits and stands erect is more likely than others to do what?
Breathe.
That's the problem with slouching, is that it affects your breathing. This woman here, this is in Colombia, this woman here, they're not able to breathe deeply because their digestive organs and their diaphragm is cramped. This lady here is able to breathe properly. What part of the world has less problems with postural alignments? Low-income countries. You know why? They carry everything where? On their head. I've been at church in Ghana, and every girl in church can carry 3 or 4 hymnals on their head. No American woman I've ever seen can carry 5 hymnals on her head without dropping it. All of the girls in Ghana can do it. I said, can you carry 7 or... You can't do it. But their posture is superb. Here's a lady, she was an Adventist, this is in Ghana. She's carrying a generator on her head that weighs about 150 pounds. You couldn't do it. I couldn't do it. You only can carry 200 pounds on your head if your posture is proper. You can't have a head forward position and carry a generator on your... By the way, she shouldn't be carrying a generator on the head, so I asked the Adventist pastor to take it from her. And he did. And he's carrying it on his head. And he shouldn't be carrying it on his head because the cervical vertebrae, it's too much pressure on the cervical vertebrae. When I did evangelism down in Ghana, we talked to all the young girls that they need to have traction every evening to pull that head up, to pull that vertebrae so the pads can get circulation in there. We did a health class in front of the evangelistic series every night when we were in Ghana. And I asked Cody Francis, who was training me to evangelism, I said, how many Bible studies should I take for the baptismal class? He said, if you had 300 people, you might have 30. We had 120 people come to the baptismal class. You know why? Because we did health classes in the community. When you start ministering to people's health, you start showing them a little bit of care, they're like, oh, this American guy cares about us. He really feels it, he feels our pain. And it makes a difference. The Bible says in Ecclesiastes 7:29, lo, this only have I found, that God hath made man what? But they have sought out what? That Hebrew word for upright is yashar. God has made man straight. But we have all types of postural problems, particularly when we get older. We've thought out many inventions. We made all these chairs and all of these things that cause problems for us, that damage our posture, that put strain on parts of our body. And the further that your head goes forward, the more stress is on those cervical and upper thoracic vertebrae. Man has made many inventions. One of the worst things man ever created was the high-heeled shoe. I'm not trying to attack ladies, but when you have a heel that's over 1 inch, it causes the knees to go forward, and it causes the hips to have to go back to compensate, and you just can't stand straight with it. I hate to tell you this, but Eve was not running through the garden in 6-inch spike heels. She was not. She was barefoot. So we come to the end of our slide program. So the storm is coming, relentless in its fury. Are we prepared to meet it? Part of that storm will be us losing the things that we value most because they'll be coming under attack by Satan. We're living in a world that's so polluted. Our food is polluted, our water is polluted, our atmosphere is polluted. And as a result, our immune system is not what it should be. There's 3 types of church members that are not following the health message. And they all need 3 different things. They need to be educated as to know what they can do. Those that are discouraged need to have some encouragement and a better plan and a better focus on what they should do. And those that are rebellious need prayer, praying for themselves, and also church members praying for them. So those that are in category 1, I just say review your list of things and say, which of these am I not doing? Am I not wiping off my handles? We're doing things that it's actually paving the way for trouble. And then you start changing those habits one at a time, picking which one first. The easiest one. And once you can sustain that for a few weeks, then you add another one to your list. Our problem is that we're not educated and that God's people are destroyed for a lack of that knowledge. One of the books that really can help you to change your habits is this book here. It's called Atomic Habits. I'm sorry. It's called Atomic Habits. And this is a book that talks about how to have a system that gives you the most success at doing something that you're not doing currently. It says the reason why people fail is that their system is faulty. And so we need to study how the behavioral scientists have figured out how to change habits. And this book can help you to change your habits. I realized I need to put my water bottles where I can see them every day. And that's going to help to have a visual prompt. I've got to make it easy for myself. And that has made a difference. The other thing that you can do if you're category 2 and you're discouraged is you need someone to check on you. You need an accountability. You need someone that texts you every day and says, "Did you walk today?" "I didn't." "You can walk now. It's 9 p.m. Just walk around your living room for 10 minutes. You need someone that's going to call and pray with you and say, "You really need to change." It should be someone that likes you. Amen. Not someone that's going to, "I knew you wasn't going to do right." You don't want a person like that. You want someone that's like, "That's okay. You can still get it in. You'll do better tomorrow." You want a positive, upbeat, encouraging person. It might not be your spouse. It might be. It might be your best friend. It might be someone that lives on the other side of the country someone that lives out of the country that's on the phone. I have some brothers. These brothers will go to battle with me. Whenever I see his number on my phone, I'll stop what I'm doing and take his call. Because he's a spiritual brother. He's going to have something encouraging to say. He's going to have some gem. That's the person that I want an accountability partner, is someone who's a spiritual person. I don't know why the slide turned sideways. That is the shocking thing. That's this book here. If you are category 2, you've fallen off the horse, you want to change your habits, but you're discouraged, this is the book you need to get. It's called Excuseless. And this book here, they made it into a video series done at Oakwood University. They did a very good job. I'm a hard critic. They did a very good job. In this book here, it says the reason that you fail is not because of the obstacles. It's because of your excuses. That you're making excuses. And the thing in this book, I read it all in one day. I read the whole book in one day. And the thing that hit me so hard, it says, you don't have the courage to tell God, "No, I'm not doing what you want me to do." You don't have the courage to tell God no. So you come up with this excuse. "Well, I'm busy. I'm tired. I'm this and that." He's saying, what you're really saying to God is that you're not king in my life. You're not the master of my destiny. I don't have to do what you asked me to do. He says, we make up all these, and then he goes through the Bible, and he goes through Bible stories that when Moses was on the mount, when Moses was on the mountain, he said Moses had put Egypt out of his mind. When he left Egypt, he was single. He was married now. He had children. He had gotten 40 years of getting it out of his mind. God said, "Now I want you to go back." And what did Moses tell God? He started with
I can speak well.
Yes, he started with all of this. He was telling God, "I don't want to do what you asked me to do." And that's the problem with most church members. That's my problem. With me not complying with the health message, I'm actually making up excuses, telling God in a roundabout way that I'm in rebellion. Suggestion number 17, that's our last slide, is that the most important thing that we can do is pray over our surrender to God's health message for ourselves and for others. I'd like you to bow your heads right where you're sitting, and I'd like for you to pray silently for yourself for just about 30 seconds. I'd like for you now to pray for every person in this church, that every one of us can make a big change and a big reform forward. Just pray for everyone in the church, just for 20, 30 seconds.